In 100 Thomas, in the room where it all happens.
Where it all, yes.
Wait, should I be looking at, which camera should I look at? This one?
We can look all three of them at once.
Yeah,
Continuously.
I don't know. All right. So the number, I just was looking at Jeff's, the thumb, or the timer countdown that he did, the #1 university classroom live stream. Just thought we would. I have my phone here, so but we're also looking at the
chat.
At the chat. Mm-hmm. So what we did, we came into the room here to respond to questions, to just check the equipment. Niche and Jeff, Jeff's up, and Niche just rolled back into town, and just so checking equipment and making a few videos. That we made some response videos, and so we thought, okay, let's just do it here. We were going to be at my house, and then we decided, hey, let's just do it right in the classroom. Check everything out. So here we are. That's what we're doing.
The response videos looked good. What were those for?
Just different response to response video. A lot of different people and platforms, they take the social-19 videos and they comment on them, I mean, most people, it's positive. I mean, it's fine. There's just a lot of clickbait stuff that I don't like. Titles like "Professor sick and tired of something," and I'm never sick and tired of anything. Or says Professor is fed up with woke students or something. Like I don't know. So that's a bit of a an unsettling. I don't like that. I don't like it because people don't watch their entire videos, right? And then people see my face and they think, they have this idea that they frame me or what I'm doing here according to what these folks are doing, and what they're doing is trying to get people to watch their videos, and so they have to have some kind of title that makes people click on it. Otherwise, a lot of people won't watch, right? So that's the thing. So anyway,
you just don't want,
So I was responding to those response videos.
Got it.
Most of which are fine. A lot were positive. Although there was the one, I don't know, Jeff, what was it? What is it? Turning Point, or what is it? Turning Point USA. They put me on their professor watch list.
Really?
They had a little panel there. Okay, now our next professor on our watch list is this knucklehead from Penn State.
What were they saying? Do you mind?
Yeah, they picked a clip out that had gone around the right, I don't know, the conservative platforms, the anti-liberal platform. Back where I was doing something with this black kid and a white kid, and they framed it. It's the first person framed it in a certain way to make it look a certain way, and then it just went. All these people just picked it up, Right. So they were that got me on their watch list.
Yeah.
And
this was a conservative platform.
Yeah. It's this guy Charlie Kirk started it. He's okay.
He was supposed to come here, right? Or
I don't know, but he's connected to Trump now, and so I'm like persona non grata for them, but very popular among conservative people who actually watch my class, right? So it's like,
wait, so were they trying to bring you?
Trying to get me canceled. If you thought only the left canceled people, you would be wrong. The right does the best they can do for canceling.
And so you're just trying to clarify a few things on what was actually going on. When you
Well, I
respond to
was
those videos?
kind of doing my own. I put them on. We started
you've
our
created
own
a watch
watch
list.
list. Yeah, so they're the first group on our watch list.
Is there like a live tracker?
Yeah,
that
We
gets
should say. Well,
updated?
I don't know. It's only one thus far, but whatever.
Mhm.
Let's let them know. Like, be aware. I'm watching you.
Yeah.
We're
And
all
the-
watching.
In the
you.
response video, you should have just went.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm watching you actually.
yeah. So anyway, that's where we're at. So it's all good,
Mm-hmm.
man. Hey, listen, Arnica, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Maybe a couple weeks ago, I think I saw you pop up, but just wondering how are things, and you and Axel both, like, how are things rolling over there in Germany? And,
So we might have to switch things up slightly. I think you have to use the mics from your room. I didn't want to, but every time I take this camera off, it's using a different mic from these cameras. So I think we just use the handhelds.
yeah, can we get the handhelds and we'll just switch it over? All right.
Could you put a beat on too?
Yeah. All right. Oh, it's inside the closet. Unless you want to give me you can give me a. No, they're all in the closet now. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, listen. About a study about culture, effective Karens can be interesting. Kind of. Hey, Axel, can you? Yeah, if you could send that would actually be really interesting. I'm like, the culture. What do you call Karens in Gracias? What do you call Karens in Germany? Right? Like Karens around the world, right? Like,
Oh, are you asking a question or was this
yeah,
a
I'm
joke?
actually asking the world. Like, what are the idea of a Karen? I don't even know what's a Karen. What is a Karen really?
Isn't
How
a
would you
Karen-
Oh,
describe
okay.
it?
Like this?
Oh, okay. Like this.
Isn't a Karen?
Wait, are we now on the? All right, here we go.
I think a Karen is somebody who like takes things out of proportion, or like, for example, like some Karens can be the ones to like complain at the restaurant when like maybe everything wasn't that bad, or like something small that this is like a minute version, like example of a Karen, I think, or if something happened that maybe you would just like, it's whatever, like you'd let it roll off like your
Yeah.
shoulder. Like a Karen would be like, no, I'm going to report this, and this is ridiculous,
Okay,
and you
right.
can't do this.
It's someone who
And-
loses their mind.
Yeah.
Does a Karen have to be white, or can a Karen be black
A
or
Karen
brown?
a Karen is usually white.
There's
I
a German
think-
meme that we call a Karen in Germany, an American. Oh my God! Hey, Arnica, sorry to hear about
That's
your
funny.
dad. By the way, yeah. Oh, that's really funny. The UK, the online safety bill. Yeah, I've been really struck by that. Like, man, y'all are being. I don't know the ins and outs of the bill really. I mean, just what little I've read of it, it just seems like it's pretty serious. I think like we're not the only ones that are losing our minds here. So, yeah.
The big beautiful bill.
No,
Or-
just I think it's like this, the safety bill, this online safety bill in the UK. They're like really cracking down on people to protect people online from all sorts of abuse and possible predators and all sorts of stuff, right?
Do you know? Are you aware of any of the ways they're
Basically,
supporting?
you have to trust a third party with either your facial picture, your credit card details, or a copy of your driver's license. I mean, this is the thing, right? It's like in China, like you register everything in China, man. And I mean, there's something, I don't know, you could argue that if you register, okay, and you're being tracked. Everything's being tracked.
Right.
Or could be tracked. Your bank account, where you drive, where you go, all of
Everything.
your online activity, man.
Uh-huh.
And so, I mean, they're not monitoring your ins and outs of your bank account.
Just
but
if anything sticks out, they have.
it can stick out, Yeah, like in Seoul, they track all of transportation in Seoul gets tracked, so they know where every bus is. They know how many people are on the bus at any moment. They know where the subway cars are. They don't know how many people are on particular subway cars, but they do know the bus, because when you get on, you have to register as you get on with your ticket or some kind of ID,
Kinda like a
whatever it
CAD
is,
card
and then
that
when
we
you get
have as
off, the same
students.
thing. So at any moment, they know taxis, where all the taxis are. They really know, but they can't track a single individual. In China, they're more able to do that.
Korea can't track a single person, but China can. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, China is more capable of doing that.
And so this bill in the UK, you said?
Is also moving more toward the Chinese version, is what I
Got it.
understand.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so anyway, Kurik 1, you said that you appreciated the class on gun culture in the police, that I don't take sides and look at different sides and let people think for themselves. Yeah, although I gotta say, Kurik 1, it's not easy to do. Increasingly, I'm feeling like I want to take sides. You know what I mean? Like, guys, some of the insanity that I'm saying. Well, I don't know if it's insane, actually. God, I just said that, and then at the same time, every time I really investigate something, well, some things are insane. Okay, like for sure. God, in my humble opinion, but I don't know. Sometimes I investigate, confused. No.
Right. And sometimes you're not, you're saying. You investigate and you're like,
Yeah, it's just a problem. You know, I read this really long article in Atlantic about Sudan and the crisis in Sudan, and just how the U.S. and Europe are just taking a hands-off approach, and the U.S. in particular. We've been so instrumental in supporting, through USAID, supporting refugees and supporting different populations of people. And we're so hands-off, and it's so falling apart. I had a conversation this morning with Ernst, my friend in Haiti, and we're just unwilling to stop. We could really go so far to stopping the falling apart of Haitian society, and we're not. And just how troubling, deeply troubling. And like we don't think that people just think that it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter to them. But when you know people and you're watching and you're aware and you know the impact, then it matters, you know. So it's sad.
You just kind of. I mean, when you say that to me, I can feel. Like when I think about it, I feel sad. Don't know what to do. Like, do you feel like you feel helpless in a way?
I feel helpless. I feel sad, just so sad, man. I read this long article, Atlantic, worth reading. It takes a little bit. You have to know some of the issues to really get it. But you don't have to know that much, and I can send it to you. And we're gonna read it for the Benner, for the guys out at Benner, and just God, just a level of this, man.
Is this like a civilian violence, like government?
Yeah,
civilian
it's militia
violence?
groups and the government, and same in Haiti. You know, a member, two different people in my, our friend. Ernst is a friend of Social 19, but in his church were shot. One young man was killed. Young woman shot, shoulder. It's just like,
Wait,
dude,
during church?
No, just in the.
Right.
It's just sad. I'm having a hard time, actually.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
just
we don't have
to speak in truth, it's been a really tough summer for me because I'm just feeling a lot of things about stuff that's happening, and it just turns out that I'm connected to a lot of people in places where things are falling apart. in Sudan, I think the Atlantic called it a war for no reason. Like there's no reason to have this war, but it's going on. Millions of people are affected. And I'm feeling it. And it's really heavy. Like, sometimes people ask me how I'm able to do a lot of what I do. Mostly I just manage my way through, but man, I gotta, sometimes it's heavy. It hurts, man. It really hurts.
I think it's, I don't know, I think it's like, I'm recognizing, that, I mean, it's really cool that you're being this vulnerable, to say that it hurts, because you usually navigate things in a way where you try to keep it, well, like you don't try to dilute the heaviness, but like you manage, like you're saying, you manage it, so maybe it doesn't come off as vulnerable, as heavy as you're allowing yourself to be right now. I don't know, I feel like sometimes that's like needed for like me personally, because then I really feel it, so I could imagine others really feel it, of like what that heaviness can do to actually make people want to go look it up.
Oh my
because
gosh.
you're showing that.
Like for example, no, that's what it is, right? And like, why go look it up? Like, why? Like, if you don't, just if you're not aware of it and you don't know what's going on, just go golfing. Go have a barbecue. Go do whatever.
Or
and
like
go play with your grandkids or your kids or something. There's no need. It just turns out that for me, I just happen. Mr. Rashidi just popped up on the chat, which means you just popped into the live stream. Thanks. But like, I think Mr. Rashidi, I just had a conversation on Saturday with our friend in Brussels, and talking about what's going on in Afghanistan, and like, oh my God, it's just, I can't go there. And I know, like, I have these friends around the world in places, and I know that they reach out to me, and I see the message come in, say, hey, Sam, let's talk, or how you doing, or whatever. And I have times when I just ignore it. I pretend, because I can't emotionally. Wow. I can't go there. I can't have the conversation about what's happening. It's so painful, and yet, like here I am, here, right? Mr. Rashidi, exactly. We came to so we had to test the equipment out, so we decided, hey, let's just and stream today. So we can't stream tomorrow, or we could stream tomorrow, but let's do office hours. And the thing about Trump. So Rick one just said, "What about?"
Okay,
Trump
so we're transitioning.
We're
transitioning.
No.
I was like,
yeah, we are.
I didn't get a
this
chance.
is the thing. No, it's like it's like it's so. That's the thing. Like I go in and I touch it, and then I come out, because I can't. I can't stay there. I can't allow myself to stay there. If I do, I'm absolutely paralyzed. So I have trained myself to feel all the things that I feel, and or maybe I'm just constitutionally the person that I am. I can feel all the things that I feel, and I can just weep, and then I just come out and I move on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, what I was in that moment, I felt like I was holding like a powerful message, and I think it's important for people to.
Yeah, and then I'm torn.
But
no, but like, why? Like with students here who are, this room will be, filled with students in a couple weeks, and it's like, well, why be connected to bad news? Like, it doesn't change. It's not going to change anything. Like, none of them. I can tell them all about Haiti and what's going on. It doesn't change anything for anybody. Like, maybe it's
Maybe for one person it does.
maybe, but for the other people, it's just best if we focus on the beauty. If I get people to focus on the beauty and the positive and spread love and understanding and connection out into the world instead of darkness, that it's just better. I mean, I've come to that over the years.
Yeah.
You're going to get a little bit of darkness because you just got to have it, but
Yeah.
you know, not too much.
Really?
Yeah.
You find? Have you? That's interesting.
Well, I don't try to have too much darkness. I used to have more, but now I try to have a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. You know, I was talking this morning with Ernso and my friend in Haiti, and we were laughing. I mean, he's laughing. Dude, if I could tell you the stories, if I walked you through some of the stuff we were talking about what's going on, and about you'd be like, there's nothing funny in that. There's nothing. It's deeply depressing. It's sad. It's just it's horrific, and yet I mean, he just came from Haiti to the U.S. and he's going back in a couple of weeks. But and yet, if you can't laugh, right, at life, then like, what are you gonna do?
Dang, that's so interesting because it's like we're talking about like one of the moments that you really like when you really reflect and allow things to be heavy, and then when do you reflect and allow the things that are heavy to be like light?
Yeah.
And what are the impacts of the last, the other?
Yeah.
One-on-one
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, you got to laugh at life, and then also it sounds like you're saying sometimes you got to show the heaviness.
Well, it's like the feeling the sort of the uplifted by both the joys and the sorrows of the world. There's something in embracing the sorrows of the world. Like you can't, I don't know, for me, it's my destiny is to have learned, is to come into contact, so that's my destiny. I didn't choose it, but I'm connected to people in different places in the world that are in the middle of the most unbelievable stuff. And so, I don't need to impose that on other people. I don't that you should think about this stuff, because I don't think that that's the case, but I think it
Even in this class.
yeah, you have to keep the mic fairly close.
Got it. My bad.
Steven's letting you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there's something about that I think there's a necessary balance. And it's difficult for me to do in here, right? Because sometimes people would like more of it, more of the darkness, so to speak, and sometimes people want less of it. Other people want less of it, and I think it's just enough to just keep moving back and forth. Hey, Jeff, you can move it to the center camera more if you want. Well, however you want to do it. I'm just sort of watching this sometimes. I'm trying to go back and forth between.
How do you know in the class, like, what are you sensing in the class? It's like, maybe they don't need this darkness. Like, what are you, like, sensing? What feedback are you getting? It's like, ooh, I feel like this isn't what I need to do.
I don't get feedback per se. First off, I don't feel the energy. No, I get it. Yeah, no, I think it's an energy thing. It's also just for me knowing, like, as a professor, as a teacher, not a professor, as a teacher, like with a capital T. I have an intuitive.
What's your distinction in that, actually? Maybe someone else would.
Well, I think a lot of people
that.
teach, but not everybody's a teacher.
Right. What's that distinction?
A teacher is someone who really is able to convey messages and ideas in ways that inspire people to grow. Whatever that means. And it might be, you're a teacher of calculus. Right. So you grow because you really understand calculus, and the teacher makes you want to understand it even more and even better with greater clarity and valuable and useful. It makes you feel like a better human being as a result.
So like the teacher that you're talking about is like the approach, how whatever that approach looks like instills this like fire from the student to transform.
Yeah.
Like like the master and the grasshopper or something like that.
Exactly, dude. Exactly, grasshopper. Like,
It's a
you know,
callback.
yeah, you know when to drop certain things, or you know when to say certain things in certain moments, and I know when to just go down like a really dark path for 2 minutes or so. Just put it, just let it. It's almost like this subtle reminder to say, wait, hang on a minute. The world isn't exactly how I think it is. Like, okay, but it's not too much, you know, so you can, so that, you know, the student or the person can take it further if they want.
Right.
But they don't need to. And I don't think that anybody feels inspired to grow from the depths of darkness on average. Some people do, but most people don't. I should say. So I shouldn't say anybody, but I will say the vast majority of people don't. So like I could just walk them through some things that would just be like one just horrible story after another.
Right.
Like, oh my God, dude.
It makes sense because when people ask me what kind of music I like, I'm always like sad songs and they don't get me, you know. That was just a joke to be like, you're right, like on average most people you know, don't want to be around something that's like low, that's hard to deal with.
And really depressing.
And depressing, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
depression is like, oh God.
Right.
Yeah, so we're...
And it can like do you ever think about it would desensitize? Or be like, oh, here we go, like second class, more negative news.
More negativity, yeah. So like, oh God, this is... Yeah, no, I don't...
Towards like normalized. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, well,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's... I think we need a little bit of everything. I think most human beings benefit and they grow from a little bit of lots of different things. So, and you know, in a big room like this, there's a lot of different needs that people have. So, and you never know, man. Over the years, like 42 years I've been doing this, and starting my 43rd year. And so there are times when I've had students just out of the blue, man, just come back and say, wow, that thing you said 2 weeks ago or whatever, it just got me in the right moment. Heard it before, but when you said it in that moment, I just heard it, you know, and like, whoa, that really impacted. So, you know, that kind of stuff, right?
I wonder if that's a moment where you ever feel like you're in your pocket, like you're in your bag?
Or else just the universe, my crown chakra opened in the universe, the great life force, the great chi just came down and said, hey, say this, which I think happened one time years ago, man. I had this story of this, I don't know what it was, but I was talking and I just stopped right in the middle of it. I feel like it was the middle of a sentence. I stopped and I said, whoa, hang on. I said, hey, anyone in this room's dealing with addiction, you need to deal with it right. Don't wait. Don't wait till next week, next month, next year, till you graduate, whatever it is. So you deal with it right now.
Did anyone get up out of the seat?
No, no one did.
Out?
But
they were like, I need to fix this.
But then we went, like the next week we were on break for the week, Thanksgiving break, and then we came back. And after break, this guy comes up to me. He's now dead. I just found out that he died. But he came up to me. And after class, he said, hey, I got to talk to you. And he waited till everybody left, and he said, hey, man, I feel like you saved my life. Oh, what do you mean? He said, well, I had a heroin, and I, you know, he was having heroin delivered to his house every day. And he said, for whatever reason, when you said that, I heard it. I just heard it, and I knew you were talking to me. And I went cold turkey. I went off heroin cold turkey over the break. I spent the entire break in my apartment. Yeah. So like I feel like I'm going to get my life back. And I don't. Okay, so you have stories. I have stories like that. There are other ones like that. That's a particularly good one. But
And
in the end, he died. I found out many years later, he died. I think from his addiction. It's like he wasn't able to completely break free, but nonetheless, right. But that
was one of those moments where you just kind of you were just you were just like hearing the little whispers.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Hey, you, whoever it is. But you have to laugh, right? Like, I'm like, yeah, like, here's this person. He lived his life. He lived in this particular body. He lived his life. He came through, and then now he's gone, prematurely. And it is what it is, right? This is life. This is like, if I don't find ways to laugh, I can't go on, man. I can't.
Yeah,
it's just not.
Wow, that story just brought me to like, man, there's so many stories, especially globally, and then dang, like even the students that are just sitting in those seats, like you have no idea.
Yeah.
Like the despair that's going on.
No, the despair, and this Kubrick one is saying like, the children, young people, they don't have nobody has the critical thinking skills. And I didn't have it when I was in school. I didn't have critical thinking skills till I was probably in my mid-20s. And even then, they were pretty poor. I thought I did in my early 20s, but they were pretty poor. It wasn't until past 10 years, I think.
Still waiting for my day.
Yeah, like hanging. I'm hanging on. I'm just clawing. But yeah, young people, certainly people don't. Yeah, it's hard.
Especially you don't have the. I know.
You know.
I know.
You don't have like. You have to like. You have to You have to learn so much to learn anything. That's why I was saying like that article on Sudan. It's like, well, I'm reading this article and it's written by this Anne Applebaum, who's an amazing writer and an amazing thinker. And she writes.
She's a New York Times. She's a New York Times.
She's she's an editor at the Atlantic, but she's done a lot of things in her journalistic career. Okay. But you have to really get the article. You have to know a number of things. You have to track.
Right.
And you have to have some sense of the history of Africa, and you have to have some sense of U.S. foreign policy and European foreign policy. And if you don't have that, then you can't really sort of disentangle, even though she does an amazing job of explaining it.
Right. Like if you don't know some of that background information, you've just started a research project.
Yeah, and you're going to be struggling as you read through, and you're probably not going to read the whole article, even though it's an absolutely brilliant piece, and it's depressing as hell. And yeah, but I couldn't assign it to students. Well, the guys at Benner, we can assign it to because these guys are. We're teaching. Elijah and I are going to be going to Benner prison, actually, here outside of State College. He'll go on one day a week, and I'll go on a different day a week and have conversations with these incarcerated and men who are. And so they're going to.
Who are going for their bachelor.
What's that?
Bachelor. They're going for their bachelor.
Oh, they're working on their bachelor's degree. So they'll be doing some readings, and then watching videos from Social 19. And so they're going to read this article, right? But these guys, they're so hungry. They will read that article like 3 times. And if they don't understand the first 3 times, they'll read it a 4th or a 5th time. They're just deep, man. Yeah. And they're busy, people have this idea that, people in prison, they just sit around all day and do nothing. Everyone's busy. There's a lot going on. And
and yeah. And it's so how often we make external attributions of people and things, and or just like attributions. I don't know. You just made me think because earlier when you were talking about, I think this article or like what's going on in Sudan, like what are all the reasons that people just kind of like blow things off, you know, or and kind of the way that people like blow off like those that are incarcerated, like they don't want to learn,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you know, like if that's happening in that country, they did something, or like, you know, that's
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
there's so many
man.
just attributions that are so
Exactly.
like the humans are inherently like they're like this because they're inherently bad people, or that's a bad country, or like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a bad society.
Yeah,
And
something. Yeah,
Some-
that it's like they're not like, we don't understand them. And you don't have friends. If you don't have friends in places, then you don't understand. We don't understand stuff. Whoa, hang on. Oh, I see what happened. I'm gonna turn this off. Hang on. I gotta do this. Hey, Ahmad. Jeff, I want to respond to that question about the modern world being scary. That's a really cool question. But K. Urich. K. Urich. Okay, got it. I love that. It's so Sam, do you think the modern world is scary because society is based on laws or fear of God? People don't commit crime because of laws, at least here. Not. I think that, I don't think much has changed in this realm, actually. So let me see if I'm going to riff on this.
Seems like back in the 14th century when I was a professor.
Yeah, in my previous life. Okay, hang on. Let me just see what I can do with this. Right? Let me see if I can.
You're like, Socrates was a good guy.
Yeah, a buddy of mine. Dude, my hearing aids just really kicked in because I had the stream going, so it was kind of. I can hear myself now. That's the point. I can hear him. Before I wasn't able to hear anything. I saw your lips move, and I was sort of reading your lips. No, it's like I can hear, but we're sitting up front of the classroom, and it's really hard to hear the speakers from up here. Anyway, listen, man.
Right.
I have the idea that most people I don't think people throughout history, this is my gut feeling. I didn't live 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, just so you know, I wasn't around, but if I had to guess, I would say that, and by the way, Irvin is doing great, by the way, except he just found out he has to spend another $10 a month for more storage on his phone, but you know, whatever. That's what happens when you take 1 million pictures like Irvin does. But if you, I feel like most people probably didn't, the fear of God or the fear of whatever isn't what kept them acting in certain ways. I think it's just, you grow up in a sociological system, whatever that system is, you learn the rules of that system, and you learn the consequences of not following the rules of that system. And the consequences have been, varied, mostly. And some people followed and some people didn't. But mostly it was what led people to not follow the rules is were probably a lot of the same things that lead people today to not follow rules.
Like needs not being met, or
feeling like they need something, like,
right.
Hey, I need more food, or I need this, or I need that, or they haven't been socialized to be like, dude, you don't go commit you don't do those things to those people, or
right.
whatever the case.
Mm-hmm. But it's not that they're abiding by something, like abiding by their laws, or abiding by the fear of God.
No, they're not reading the holy book. And first off, most people weren't reading books. Most people throughout history have never read a religious text.
Seems like I told all the stories, actually.
Dude, just like you, just like everybody else. Most people aren't walking around. First off, people weren't reading. People didn't have copies of Qurans and Bibles and Torahs and the
wow, so everything was
Tao Te
hearsay?
Ching.
Everything was hearsay, right?
Dude, everything's hearsay.
Wow.
Like in Afghanistan,
so
I remember
cool.
talking to Rafi and Mr. talking to people in Afghanistan, all these so-called the religious leaders in Afghanistan. I don't even know, like the mullahs. I mean, all the people who are they're in charge of determining whatever it is that is the religious body of literature. Most of them, so many are illiterate. They can't even. They don't even know what they've never read the Quran, right?
Really?
Dude, come on. People are illiterate. People don't, and even if they're not literate, they're not aware of it. They don't really understand it, and so.
Or it's whatever their interpretation is.
Yeah, well,
based
that's
off
been
of limited understanding.
Yeah, it's very limited understanding, and that's of course true throughout history here, right? So the priests and the scribes, of course, they were reading the biblical texts, right? But there are a very small number of people who are reading this,
Right.
and the biblical text is, it's written on big parchments of paper. People aren't walking around with these little books. People didn't have text in their homes.
People weren't walking around with posters.
No, they
you
weren't
can't be
walking around with exactly unscrolling. Wait, hang on a second. That's in Matthew 17. Hold on, I got my scroll over here. Let me go to my cart and let me unscroll it. No, it's not in that one. Hang on. No, here it's in
that one. Yeah.
I mean, that's not what's going on, man. So nobody had that. That's not how the world operated at all. And in the East, it was the same thing. The scribes knew, whether it was China or Korea, Japan, or wherever, the scribes had ideas about what certain texts were. Nobody else did. So you're just making shit up as you go along, and you're imagining, God might be angry. Someone told me that God would be angry at me if I did X, Y, or Z. But you don't know. You have nothing to base that on. And so Ahmed, that's my response to all of that, right?
You think it's like social exchange theory, like scratch my back, scratch your back kind of thing?
To
that's
some degree, maybe.
But that's part of the sociology you're saying, like the norms and that's one of the phenomenons of within sociology.
I think that's definitely one phenomenon.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, of the multifaceted.
Look, like sociology. Here, let me just give you an example of sociology.
Break it down. Yeah.
I probably have read 0.05% of the standard texts, the most important texts and articles that come out on a yearly basis. There aren't that many that are really important, but the most important ones.
Like academic articles, you're saying? Or
articles or books or whatever. Probably 0.005% is what I've read.
Pretty big.
Right? And this is pretty, and that's a lot. And I'm a professor.
Right, yeah. It's got to be like 100,000 books.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
But you're saying, like, based off of that, that's like small but large, or you're saying, like, based off of that 0.05 that
that's a tiny fraction of what there is to know in the field of
right.
sociology.
Yeah.
So no wonder I think often that I'm such a knucklehead, right? So now imagine, I remember when I would go into the homes of campesinos with small farmers, and when I lived in Ecuador back many years ago.
Love these stories.
And I would go into their homes, and sometimes the homes were the size of 10 feet by 10, 15 feet, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have a table and some chairs and a bed and stove over, and that's it. There are no books. There's no Bible. These were all Christians, right? So the priest would show up.
This was in the 70s?
In the
80s? 80s.
But it hasn't changed, and even to today, it hasn't changed that much in certain places. But
right.
The priests would show up into these communities. I'd show up with the priests a lot, and sometimes I'd be on my own. But the priest would say mass and kneel, and then.
Mm-hmm.
And there's sometimes we'd go to one little community.
Would they be reading the priest reading out of the Bible?
The priest, they never read the Bible, but they would read a text, right?
Okay.
And there would be a Bible, and there'd be a local capilla, a little chapel, and that's where people would gather. And they would gather there when the priest would show up, and sometimes they would have various meetings, like community meetings there or something like that. But there would be a Bible there, but that was it. And
That was like the community Bible.
I had a community Bible, and like people didn't have any idea what it said. They really didn't know. One time, so I had long hair and a beard,
Oh, yeah.
long straight hair, right? Okay.
That's on my laptop.
Okay, all right. So a couple times I showed up into these communities where the story was that Jesus is going to return, and and then they have this image of Jesus. Now a lot of these priests were very focused on not using a white man with long, straight brown hair as the image of Christ. So they would have like a statue in the church, and that image, Christ on the cross, they would put campesino clothing on or something.
Right.
But
What was this color of his skin? Was he
sometimes
like
it
a
was
white man?
dark brown, and
Right.
sometimes it was light. It just did on where they got but sometimes they would paint
I was
it.
gonna like say a crazy joke, like it depended if they put him on the sun or not.
Yeah,
Got a
yeah,
tan.
yeah. If the statue got some sun, then it would darken up a little. But there were a couple times when we'd roll into community, and the people would say to the priest, like, "Is that him? Like, is that Jesus?" It's like, "Did you bring Jesus here?" Right? Because the story is Jesus is going to return. Priest comes to the community year after year after year, decade after decade. Then at some point, century after century, and the story is that Jesus is going to return. Right?
Isn't Jesus riding on a donkey?
Dude, it was right. Well, I
Were
was
you?
riding in a Jeep. All right.
Okay.
So
Jesus
sometimes
was-
we'd be on horseback. Okay.
Right, yeah,
But
yeah.
sometimes we would just walk. The
Yeah.
point being, like, that's the story. And here comes the priest with this guy with long brown hair and a beard. And so like,
Just came from
is
a
that
Jeep
him?
dealership.
It kind of looks like the guy. I've seen photos, like I've seen pictures. I've seen not photos because but I've seen painting, whatever drawings. I don't know,
Yeah.
And so this is the point. My point being, like, people don't have any idea.
Right. Like right. That makes sense. Like they were able to be, like they're a little gullible at the time. Like
Whatever it is.
Asking
So
if-
my response to Ahmad is that is that I don't think it's about people being I don't know that the fear is what keeps. I don't know, and maybe today there's a lot more. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's never been a deep understanding of holy text and all of the moral and ethical teachings that are embedded in that holy text. Not a part. I don't think it's ever written. And have understood, and it's only been very recently people would have these, maybe because of the Gideons or whatever, that people would have copies of holy texts. Just not books. Books have been historically very expensive, and so anywhere you go in the world, there aren't lots of copies, inexpensive copies of books that people had and kept in their homes. So that for most of human history, then there's got to be something else that keeps people.
So you believe in like the inherent good of people? Would you say?
I think when people are properly socialized, meaning I don't mean properly like I have the proper way, but if there's a social system that is stable and people's basic needs are met in a way that is reasonable, which means that children are reared in a way to have a knowledge of how to act in certain situations.
What? Okay.
Then I think that most people, most of the time, are acting ways that most of us would call acceptable.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd call it good. I'd say.
I think I thought of of an interesting question. I haven't thought of one in a while, so this is exciting.
Go for it.
So just thinking about like society being stable, you're saying, and then within that, does does a stable society include like laws and religion, or like with those taken away, like you think that humans could still be in a stable society where they would be pro-social, or does a stable society include laws and religion, or can you exclude those?
No, I think laws and religion are always part of something, probably.
But that's not why.
No, that's not the
They're
reason
able to
why it's
be
stable. No, I think
Functioning. Those
no,
are the
I don't
supporting
think.
facets of.
I think that I think it's cyclical, right? Anyway, it's summer. It's the end of summer. So
Circular? No, okay.
It's circular.
No.
No, all right.
I was just playing.
No, but you
Yeah.
the law stability requires a certain agreement on principles and rules of conduct. And the rules of conduct then support stability. So, and those rules of conduct are going to be connected to this world and to the next world. In the next world, because we're always going to live with this kind of question mark about where we came. And then the next one. Human beings need to make sense of justice and fairness and lack of fairness where we don't see it, and violence and these kinds of things. So we need to make sense of all that. Why do these things happen? Why do good people die? Why do people die young? Why do these things accidents happen? We have to make sense of that. And it's a far cry from anybody. I mean, we're always going to call on something beyond our understanding and beyond our imagination, which means God. Always going to turn something that's greater than us, and that's what we call God, right? And other people call whatever they call it. I don't know, great mystery. So,
okay, yeah. We'll always about to ask, like, why? Trying to figure out my question.
well, that was a good question.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on.
Well,
Axel said, Sam, did you take both views of a holy book as the base of it? Yeah, Axel, I think that they're the same to me. Like holy, like the foundation of a religion and a historical document. Religions are only going to be built upon holy book that has some historical understanding, because otherwise I could just write something right now and it will never be a holy book. It's got to be rooted in, it might be for people 1,000 years from now, but it won't be right now, because it has to be rooted in history. God didn't just start. God created whatever God is. God happened a long time ago. God may still be here, but God started out a long time ago, and you're not going to start a book from right now. You got to account for the beginning.
Maybe when God started, he was in race relations. He was teaching a race relations course.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah. God didn't start in Sociology 118, by the way, just so you know that.
God started in this class. He was like, Sam taught me.
Yeah, didn't I say that when you were in the class? I thought I tried to have that message, but I don't know. I guess you learned it.
Wait, which part?
That God started here in 100 times.
Oh, yeah.
No,
everyone knows that.
That's the idea, right? So it's like, so that's why, Axel, I think that the historical document part and the religion part, to me, are really largely, they're interconnected, because there's always a history part of it. And even when it's something like the Tao Te Ching,
the Tao is Buddha's text, right?
Well, it's Tao. It's a kind of an expression of Buddhism, right? Taoism. Okay. But even then, even though it technically is not a historical document, it's not talking about history. It's talking about way of being, of holding ourselves in the world. It still is really old and ancient. So you have the idea that the Tao itself says that the Tao exists beyond time. It has always been. and it always will be. It's like, I don't know what that means, but
Was it you saying that like all the religions are representing that form of like birth, death, rebirth? I don't know if it was you, if it was somewhere else.
well, I think
But I
they
think
all
the death-
do at some
They all
level.
do, right? Because it was like Christ was born, he got crucified, and then he got reborn, and then isn't Buddhism all about like
Yeah,
reincarnation and life and
at
death?
some
and-
level, they all entail that. Yeah,
Okay.
they have to.
Right.
Yeah, they have to account for that.
Okay.
All
Side note.
the writings in Hinduism,
Mm-hmm.
they all have to question,
Right.
which makes it to me so interesting.
And is it Christianity?
Well, hang on. Let me look
Okay.
at Stephen. In the past, religion was more about controlling the masses, wealth, and medieval period. Yeah, okay, I can buy that. Catholic Church held mass power and influence with the vast network of clergy. Yeah, definitely in the past, it's about controlling. Well, what happened? The Catholic Church, the church as an institution emerged. Just happened to the land. Oh man, I can't like for me to do what I just was about to do. I risk actually having a mental break.
We're here
So,
for it. Yeah.
I don't want to do it here. Not it's like
Go to the back real quick.
to just like to do my thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
Stephen, I can buy that. Yeah, just so much power. Much about power, and so little about
The love.
the
Or
love, the connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
So much about power. I used to see this with priests who I worked with. Some of them, they were secular for all it mattered. They weren't they were just these people that were doing a sociological job.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any. They weren't doing it. They were doing nothing that's any different than what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And others, man, they were so just deeply in tune with people and their and
Who was? Again?
some
What group?
priests.
Some
yeah,
priests. Okay.
yeah, and others were not at all. Yeah.
Like
They were-
more of a just not not understanding or less free.
You just go and you have your meetings and you do what you need to do and you say mass and you get lunch and this and then you go meet somewhere else and that's
Mhm.
it. It's just like kind of like okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And you talk and hang out with them and it's like I'm hanging out with some other professor or something or
Mhm.
whatever or anybody or my next
Mhm.
and they it was kind of they were just this cog in a and there was nothing spiritual about what they were. But others, man, they were so in
Right.
just in tune with something. You know?
Lately, for some reason, when I've been working out, I started sometimes listening to Proverbs and then also putting on like the Quran.
Mm.
And and it's crazy. I saw the relationship between how both of them kind of talk about like let's say if you're on like the wayward path,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How it's like some of it's very tough, like a tough father, or a tough mother. It's like, well, tough stuff, man. Like this is what
Yeah.
you did, and you're gonna be going through the fire because of it.
Yeah.
But and made me think about. And listen, this is my interpretation. So I'm just like learning, right, and just taking things in. So, but it was cool to see another. I don't know. It was just interesting to see the relationship between. And I wonder if this is a modern day value of like, a punishing God is like a loving God still at the same time, or like a,
Yeah.
I don't know, just because we're like more in this like
Well,
progressive, like be light and forgiving, and like the world that we're in, kind of.
Yeah,
in
but
some ways.
But
I don't
it
know,
makes
it's just a
sense
thing to
that
think
if you
about.
want to control people, you got to have you got to have a God that can get really angry very quickly. And this was Stephen. I think what Axel just said is like really, yeah, like it's not meaning in the history as the Holy Book is an artifact, right? But But the idea being, I agree with you. I think that but it makes sense to have a God that's really an angry God. But it makes it very strange, right? To think like, wow, he's so angry. Well, look. Okay, hey, have you ever known anybody who's part of the ministry of a really large institution, whether it's a large synagogue or a large church or a large temple?
Personally?
Yeah. Have you ever watched them up front? It's a lot of day-to-day, it's a lot of work on a day-to-day basis. A lot of left brain decisions that have to get, just things that you got to do to keep things functioning. Okay? Well, where's God in all of that? You're just like, it's like I got my computer, I want to get on my computer and I want to do something really creative on my computer. I want to write some beautiful prose. But in the meantime, I've got a virus and I have to do an update and I have to do this and I have to do that. And I'm trying to figure it out and like, oh my God. And then when I finally get it all done and then I have 10 minutes to come up with some beautiful prose. And as soon as I get done with that, I got to go do something else. It's like, there's no time. So like when you're supposedly a man or a woman of the cloth, whether you're Jewish or Hindu or Buddhist or Christian, Muslim, life gets stuck in these mundane realities. And I've seen it up close in every religion, everything I've ever been part of that I've been up close to, I've seen those people, seen them just get lost in that. It's like, that's the reality. And the people who can function in a more esoteric way, people who are more connected to the Spirit, are the people who are not connected to other people. They're people that they connect to the Spirit on their own.
Really?
So like, yeah, I mean, I spent time at this Benedictine monastery, and these are all the monks that they wear the hoods, and they're like completely enshrouded because they're praying, and then they gather 5 or 6 times a day. I mean, very much like Muslims do. You pray throughout, and then they sing the Psalms, but they're completely disconnected. And then when they don't talk, they're not talking. So I would have we'd have a meal, and if you wanted the salt or something, you'd have to gesture to have someone pass you the salt. Like, hey, how do you like, hey, it's like Elijah, like, I want cream in my coffee. Like, hey, and you'd have to be like, and then you'd pick one up, and I'd be like, no, the other one, right? And that's and
then I get upset.
I'm like, come on, man, just speak. Okay, you just speak. Like, no, we're not allowed to speak. And so the idea of being like the people who are most connected to the life force are the people who are least connected to the trials and tribulations of the world, including other people. So you have to isolate yourself, right? And to go to do that.
So, like, some religion is not about helping others, then, right? Because that's
it's about helping yourself. If you're helping others, you don't have time. Like, you could be like the priest that started that bakery out in L.A., right? So it's like, Father so and he works with all these prisoners, and they come. That's great. That's his ministry, right? And then he can live in the world of God. That's his ministry is like all these people, right? But at the same time, everyone who I've ever met who's doing that, it looks great when you read his book, and it's like, oh, this guy, and he's writing about all this, like the beautiful connection. I see Christ working through these men. They're baking bread, and they're selling the bread, and they're giving it away to people who are hungry, and da-da-da-da-da. But every single one of them who I've ever met up close, their secret wish is to go be able to spend 3 or 4 weeks or 3 or 4 years just in quiet contemplation with the divine, because their life is about spreadsheets and about to-do lists.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Now, I'm sure there are lots of people who that's not really the case, but I'm just saying, like, that's what I see.
Well, and so you're like, as hard to see the spirituality sometimes, or it's hard to see.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to
the-
have a connection with God when you're busy
Right.
changing the oil in your car. And and afterwards you can reflect on it and say, well, the experience, I got under my car and I got the wrench and and I watched the oil pour out, and it's like, okay, it's really great. But the fact is you're doing left brain activities and you lose.
When usually the right brain activities.
Yeah, and the right brain's where you just want to be like, let's like, don't hold the mic.
Oh,
Far away. And
thanks.
the right brain is where you are, you want to. It's just
So
it's that connection.
Are the Buddhists more in the right brain?
Well, no. I mean, here's the thing. This is the irony, right? So when I was in a Buddhist monastery,
Did you feel peaceful, by the way, when you're at that Buddhist monastery?
I used to think that I would say, wow, it'd be really cool to join a Buddhist monastery. I could just sit and meditate all day. I mean, thinking that that's what people did.
Right.
But that wasn't the experience at all. Some people, the yogi, the leader of the monastery, okay, the Roshi, he had a fair amount of time to really be connected. But all the other people, they were busy working, keeping the monastery going. And I'm like, wait, I was constantly asking myself, hey, wait, where's the holiness here? I'm just like,
Really?
I'm watching people wash floors. I mean, the holiness is being able to be here now in the moment.
Yeah.
So you're scrubbing the toilet and you're really being present to your own existence while you're scrubbing the toilet. And that's really, when you find the groove in that, it's really cool. You're not thinking out here. But but the people who were the leaders and they were assigning chores to people and stuff,
Yeah.
I saw nothing any different
Yeah,
between them and anybody working here at a place like Penn State. They were
Right.
just doing their work in a place called a monastery, and we're doing the work in a place called Penn State, the university.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Wow, that's so. So, do you think it would have been more spiritual? Like, instead of him dating, he was like a part of it. Would that have made you feel?
Yeah, but you
more
could,
like-
but someone's got to do that.
Yeah, right.
Someone has to. And then when I see these like ministers of these big churches, these big mega churches, and
they
they're
have the
standing up
jets and
there,
everything.
and they're preaching, like
Yeah.
oh my God, and they're writing books, and they,
Like Joel Osteen.
it's like Joel, my buddy Joel, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
you know him
they're
too.
flying around in their jets. I'm still trying to get a jet ride from him.
Dang.
But Joel, if you're out there, just take me up in your jet sometime, all right, pal? I
Yeah.
won't drink all your beer. Do you have beer on your? You probably don't. You probably do. Actually.
Maybe.
You probably have
Yeah.
like Miller Lite.
Like in a safe or something.
God's
Yeah.
okay with Miller Lite.
Yeah,
Probably.
and he golfs, So I mean, he's getting better. Sam's getting better at golf. So if you ever
Wait,
golf,
Joel golfs?
I don't know. I assumed.
Oh,
maybe
he
I'm wrong.
does. Yeah. I don't know how he would have time. But the point being, like,
Right.
damn, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but even. Oh wait, where did you lose?
I lost. No, it's just like it's
Yeah,
it's
so-
all left brain, dude.
Right.
And so, like, I don't know if people have time for it.
Yeah.
So how do you stay connected to the divine? So that's the thing. Anyway, that was my experience. It has been my experience in life. When I wanna have some kind of a deep some kind of religious, like a holy, not religious, a holy connection, a spiritual connection with the Creator, I have to go off by myself.
Huh. Wow. Yeah.
So,
That's so interesting
yeah.
because that's not the way for like for much of the world, right? It's not. I mean, I guess that's not true. Like, there's room for personal reflection for everybody. Like, personal reflection is a thing.
Yeah.
But like for the Buddhists, like that's the main aspect of it, personal reflection, and for like a lot of the main is like congregation, right? Like instead of like
To
we
do it-
congregate and worship rather than
Yeah.
like when people go to church, they don't like all go to their own little corner, you know, and like and read the
that's right.
Bible, you know. But it's
No,
like,
in the main hall, you know, at this monastery where I was, the main hall, people sat in their own prayer mat around the hall, facing the wall.
so it was individual but collective.
Yeah, and that, like, you know, like Quakers, you're going to sit in a circle facing each other, right? And some whatever, it's the congregation, you're in a group. But yeah, there is
but
like
then you
it's
only
by
speak when
themselves
you-
because they'll close their eyes and meditate.
Right,
Yeah,
with the you're saying the Quakers. And
No,
they speak when they're moved,
the
right?
Buddhists, and the Quakers are, yeah, the Quakers speak when you're motivated, right? Speak when
Right.
you speak when you when the spirit moves you.
Yeah.
But you know, too often people just speak when they feel like speaking.
Not necessarily when they're being moved, but when they.
Yeah. That's the nature. That's how life is. Life is pretty. Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway,
wonder if
hey,
we-
listen. What time? Is it?
It's
Hey,
4:17.
Jeff and Darniesha, I think we should talk for a hot minute about the about where we're headed this semester. What do you think? Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe now. What do you have any? Are there any new plans happening on the stream team? Wait, hang on a second. Jeff, do you have any plans? Do you want to? Why don't the two of you come out here for a hot minute, and let's just see what we have. All right. Which camera are we on? We're on that one? Yeah. Oh, wait. All right. Hang on. So we got to. Are we? Oh, what's the. Wait. All right. Niche has a. All right. So listen. Do you have any new plans for the stream? I mean, for videos and just start with the videos, not for the stream.
In terms of putting out more videos, we're going to try and do things that are inside the class, like we always have office hours, like we have in the past. I think it's been a little over a year since Elijah joined office hours. But we've also been doing interviews that are off camera. We just filmed today a reflection. So Ian, shout out to you for pushing me to do that. So we're going to be doing everything we have been, but we're also going to be adding in extra content that's outside of the classroom, not office hours related. Maybe interviews with people. I won't announce who, but we'll be having potentially somebody fairly well known in office hours in 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, we're just going to try and get more people to be aware of class.
Not that you're not fairly well known, Elijah. You
I'm going to try to let that roll off me.
Among all the people who know you, you're very well known.
True.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let that hurt my ego. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you patting that
All
for
right,
me.
dude,
So.
I got you, man. Niche. And okay, so for you, what do we got? What are we rocking with? Wait, is Niche on the? All right. Anything changing in the street? You have a new team coming on? One thing that's changing in here, though, that will impact is that we're closing off the top 3 rows of the class. We're going to have some fewer students in the classroom this year. We're closing up the top few rows, and we're not allowing people to sit in the back. And we're really bringing people in. We're gonna make it more intimate, and one day a week I'm gonna actually answer questions from the class. Like I'm gonna not lecture per se, but I'm gonna do more of kind of what I do those hours because I haven't been doing that at all. So that's cool. I look forward to.
Oh
that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Niche, I don't know what that means for you. Probably, That's why we need that other camera, because we need to go around the classroom Yeah. All right.
We'll have a different photographer, so pictures will be different. That's the only thing I can think of in the stream team.
Who's your microphone person? Running around? Is G?
Oh, yeah,
that's-
who's the new G?
Yeah, we have a new G.
You do?
Yeah.
Is his name New G?
Nah, new G. Yeah, new G. It was hard. I had to go out and find him and then get new G enrolled at Penn State and the whole thing. I found a
Really?
guy named New G, but he wasn't enrolled at Penn State. I had to recruit him, get him here. He's now a student.
How'd you do? You like put a poster up?
Yeah, I
What'd you do?
put an ad out. Yeah.
And then
I need someone named New G.
in the Collegian.
Yeah, it was tough. That was a lot, man. Yeah.
Wow. Dang. New
Yeah, we're
G.
gonna have a Campbell. Yeah, we're gonna have a camera, Stephen, on a gimbal, and have the person walk around. So,
Did you?
We just tested that camera out today, by the way. And it's working.
No, I was just gonna say G ran fast. Like G ran.
Yeah.
So I was like, wondering if you did. Did you do
No,
like
we
a 40
can't find
time?
that. No,
You
no. That's why
no.
we gotta have the camera on a gimbal.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you watch our
Darniesha
old,
doesn't run fast either, so we're like.
if you watch,
I'll run just if you need. Just
if you watch some of our oldest content, Steven, you'll see that we did have a camera, one of these cameras, on a gimbal, but these cameras are a little too heavy, and we could never get the balance right, and so we
Yeah.
just decided to go with those wheels and push the cameras around. And
Yeah, it will be we will call it the God Cam. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the God cam is the cam that's currently on. I think that's what they said. I wouldn't say better. Our current camera labeling system is via colors. We gotta name them all off of different mythological gods.
Oh, all right. Okay, we'll do that then.
One will be
I like that.
Zeus.
It would be better for me if we could rename the camp. All right, listen, man. I think we're at 4:23. They said they can't hear you. Oh,
Oh, my bad.
that's because
I think lapels were off. Actually, lapel's not popping up at all. Hold on, let me.
Can you hear Jeff?
Yeah, they can hear me for sure. It's because she has a lapel on.
Yeah, I'm on a different microphone than you guys.
Now they can hear you.
Now they can
Wow,
hear
it's
you.
so funny that the only woman
Yeah.
in the room, you guys couldn't hear at all.
All right, listen, man. Well, Niche,
And the only person of color.
will be your team will be ready. Hopefully, you'll have a couple of. We'll have one class where they're scrambling, but we'll be ready to go, man.
You mean we'll have all, 30 classes where I'm scrambling? There's
No,
never a
you'll
class that I'm not.
You just need that first class where you got to get everybody on board. So, but you have a couple of your directors coming back, right?
Yeah, we
All right.
have a good handful of students coming back that know what's going on. But there's never a day that you guys don't see me on the stream where I'm not running around like
Yeah.
something's not right.
Yeah. Nah, it's cool. It's good. Nice to have the setup, man. I look forward. Thanks, everybody. Thanks to the two of you. And you too, by the way.
Dude, thanks
But
for
to
coming
the two
over.
of them for holding it down. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sam.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you, guys.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
thank you.
When I sent a message to Elijah, I was like, I really hope he shows up, because if not, then we're gonna have to do it over Zoom, and it's gonna be more complicated. And then he walked through the door, and I was like, oh yes, we're solid.
That'd be awful if I didn't show up.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, we could have
Fire me.
figured it out.
Should fire me if I didn't show up.
Which camera's on?
That one currently.
All right.
I can switch it.
All right, put it onto this other camera.
All right.
All right, man.
Go for it.
We're we're gonna be out. We're gonna head out into the world, and thanks for tuning in. And
Thank
Mr.
you.
Rashidi, thank you all. Thanks for coming, everyone. And we won't be streaming tomorrow.
You won't be streaming tomorrow, but at 3 o'clock during normal office hours time, there will be a video that will go live to premiere.
Yeah, we'll put some videos up. But okay, y'all. Be well.
All right, be well.
Thanks.